All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective today. So I appreciate you being here. I hope you're having an amazing day. And let's start you out with a quote. Let me think here. I think one of the things that I love the most, one of the quotes I love the most, is by Jim Rohn. And it's success is not to be pursued, it's to be attracted by the person that I become. And I think this is really good when you think about it. On the surface, it means you've got to grow and you got to develop and go outside your comfort zone and all those things in order to create success. But I think if you go a little layer deeper, what it's talking about here is your inner world, your inner game. And I had a thought this week, and I just want to share this with you. It'll be a short thought this morning, but it's this idea that we are all living in a reality that we create. And there's this concept that I bring back to my own awareness at times, which is your perception is your reality. In other words, all human beings have a reality, and it doesn't matter what anyone on the outside thinks. It doesn't matter what you appear to be to others. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is what's playing in this movie in your mind, what's playing in your inner game, your own reality. Your reality is your perception. And what you need to understand when you're doing business, and this is super, super important, there's two things that you need to be aware of in your life. One is that your perception is your reality, and that's going to be affected by something really important I want to talk to you about today. But another thing we don't have time to talk about today is that your perception and your reality is not the reality that others have. And so, just a quick thought on that. It doesn't matter what you think, you believe, you see, you identify. Someone else is looking through the lens that they have created for themselves in their reality. So, if I shift that back to ourselves now, because remember, one of the biggest frustrations you're going to have is you're trying so hard to create or affect or change someone else's perception, which is their reality. It doesn't matter if it's a customer, a relationship, a friend, a coworker. It's very difficult for you to change someone else's perception or reality because you don't know what's going on inside their own mind. And so here's the point of this conversation I want to have with you today. We all have our own perception of reality. And most of the time, in fact, all the time, in my opinion, your reality is being shaped by your identity. So it doesn't matter what's going on outside your world or even for other people, what's going outside their world. Everyone's reality and their perception, their lens, their filter, they're seeing everything through is based on their identity. And so if people struggle with their identity, they're going to see things a certain way, no matter what you say, no matter how wrong they are, no matter how right they are. And so if we bring this back to ourselves, because the only way to eliminate frustration and create more certainty in an uncertain world is for you to start to do what you can control, not what others can control. And so you've got to get clear and understand and aware of this idea that your reality is being shaped by your identity. In other words, if you believe you are a particular type of person, you're going to act according to that belief, which means you're going to have results according to that belief, which means you're just going to validate that belief. So if you feel that you're a victim, if you feel like you don't have the skills or the environment or the circumstances that'll allow you to be successful, then that's going to be what happens because you're going to continue to thrive, continue to create, continue to act in accordance with that belief of your identity. But you need to realize this in a very important way. And I'm trying to just find the best way to really get you to, become aware of this because you need to identify become aware of what identity you have for yourself because you need to, in order to grow, live your best life, have fulfillment, you've got to evolve your own personal identity. Now, yes, your environment shapes your identity. Yes, your beliefs shape your identity. Yes, your circumstances will shape your identity. But you also have this third part that I always talk about when we riff on this topic, that you can proactively define what you want your identity to be and let that be the overriding factor in what creates your identity, not your circumstances, not your past experiences. your narrative that you create and you identify that you are going to grow into. You have to be proactive with your identity, because here's the beautiful thing you need to understand. Your beliefs about yourself, based on your hard-learned experience, can change. You can change them, but you have to start by making a decision that you are the one crafting your identity. You're the author of this story. You're the actor in this story. You're the judge, jury, everything in this story. So you get to decide what your identity is going to be. And if you're not proactively doing it, I'm telling you right now, your life is being driven by a perception created by the identity you have subconsciously. So here's what you have to also understand. When you go through life, accept the fact that you will lose and you will win. Everyone goes through both. You've got to stop focusing on just the result of winning. The result is not what matters. It's how you respond to the performance and actions and circumstances that happen in your life. It's not the event in your life. It's not that thing that happened. It's not losing that deal or having trouble with your relationship. It's not your health. It's not your financial situation. None of that matters. It's how you deal with it that will create your identity. So your identity for a lot of people is shaped and created by what they feel like the results are in their life. Whereas you can right now, even if you're not doing well financially, even if you're not where you want to be in your business, even if you are or aren't in a relationship, you can decide that your identity is one that's growing, that's learning, that's getting better, that's developing, that's evolving, right? This is the reason I have my company's name is the Evolution Group, and why I've got the Phoenix, because it's always about reinventing yourself. You can evolve your identity, but you have to be proactive about it. So you have to do a couple of things. Let me give you a few suggestions. Number one, you've got to learn to build emotional mastery. Man, this is one of the things that I struggle with myself even. It's like you can get so heated in the moment or excited or passionate or down when things aren't going your way, but you've got to learn to build emotional mastery. The idea of riding those waves of life and not the ups and downs, but just floating right through them. And so emotional mastery will be an important thing. Also, you have to learn to create positive beliefs. When you learn to train your mind for success, you will see the positive in every situation. You'll take one of our prosperity pillars and you'll realize that, you focus on solutions, not the problems. And you learn to create or train your mind to see positive things, and you'll create positive beliefs. You've also got to learn to deal with uncertainty. Like I said before, you're going to win, you're going to lose, you're going to have ups, you're going to have down, but you've got to learn to deal with uncertainty. And the best way to do that is to craft an identity that says you're going to do it no matter what happens. You're going to act in spite of your mood. You're going to get through it regardless. You're going to learn, you're going to grow. And when you have confidence, not in your ability, not in your outcome, when you learn to have confidence in your ability to deal with things, that's when you're crafting an identity that can go through anything. And that's how you create certainty. Certainty is, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I don't know if I'm qualified. I don't know if I have the skills, but I do know I'm going to make it through it. I do know I can handle anything that comes my way. I do know I want more challenges. That's creating certainty in an uncertain world by crafting your identity. And then you have to learn to challenge your limiting beliefs. When you recognize that you're having struggles with something, or you don't believe you have the talent, or your imposter syndrome, whatever it is, you've got to learn to challenge yourself. Expect those, want those, demand those challenges in your life, demand those limiting beliefs so you can bust through them. That's the identity you want to have. And then most importantly, learn to operate outside your comfort zone. When you get comfortable, this is a sort of a paradox, but when you get comfortable doing uncomfortable things, that's when you're growing. That's when you have an identity, a David Goggins, a Jocko. What you need is you need to know that you live outside your comfort zone and that you are a person that thrives in that environment. When you do, there's nothing stopping you. There's literally nothing that can stop you. And so this is the topic I want to talk to you about today, is know that your life is being driven by your perception, which most of the time, almost all the time, is a result of the identity that you are crafting for yourself or you're not crafting for yourself. And the sooner that you craft your own identity, the more your perception will change, your actions change, your behaviors, and then your results will follow. Your results are the lagging indicator. It's like T. Harv Eker talks about all the time. It's the fruit, not the roots. And you've got to affect the roots, the nutrition, the things you're doing on your inner game. That's what's going to create the fruits. No matter how hard you try, you're not going to make the fruit grow unless you're dealing with the roots of the tree. That's the analogy I'm using here if you've forgotten that. So that's my message for today. I encourage you to think clearly, spend some time trying to figure out, what is your identity? Is it just a result of things happening in your life? Or are you crafting an identity of a winner, an identity of someone who's going to create the life they're meant to live? Remember, I said it's never too late to live and create the life you were meant to live, but you have to be proactive with your identity and understand that when you do this, you'll get better insights into others as well. Because it's not their actions, it's not their results, it's not the things that they're doing or saying or believing. It's affected by their identity. And maybe they're struggling with their identity. And it gives you a perspective that helps you to deal with things. So that's the message I have for you today. I hope you have an amazing day. Do me a favor and share this show. And head over to the Daily Mastermind, dailymastermind.com, and check out all the resources. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Check into our academy, all the authority tools that we have for people for free now, just to help them grow their business. And I look forward to talking with you soon. Hit me up. Let me know what you're up to. Talk with you soon.